Welcome, everybody. This is the Beer Guys radio show. Perfect timing getting your sips on there, guys.
Yes, sir.
Exactly right.
It is time.
Totally not coordinated.
It is drink o'clock, beer 30, as they say. Guys, we're just gonna jump right into it this week. Get rolling with the show. If you're joining us for the live stream, you have any comments, questions, please do feel free to post them up there. We'd love to chat with you. We'd love to know what you're drinking or get any input on the jibber jabber that we talk about. So, with that said, let's do this. Welcome to the Beer Guys radio show. We're glad to be here. We're glad to have you with us. Always a good time to get together for some conversation, have some good beers, and have a good time. You know, I want to switch up my intro, guys, because I think my happy to be here, happy to have you with us is a little cheesy. So on the fly, Brian, what should I say? What should the intro be?
Welcome aboard. I don't know.
Welcome aboard. We've been expecting
aboard.
you.
Yeah. Yes. We've been expecting you.
Yes.
The beer show,
guys. Yeah, that's
the beer guys.
But
the beer guys.
Maybe not. But this is Beer Guys Radio. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Having a good week so far. It's been busy, a little crazy, you know, but cranking on through. Mike, Nate, how's it going?
Going well. Having a good week. Excited for a camping trip I've got this upcoming weekend. So
yeah.
Just really stoked to get out in the woods and get a little dirty for the weekend.
Head to the hills and have a good time with it. Absolutely. Well, Brian, you and I went out and did a little adventuring this past weekend, as we're known to do, and explored. I wouldn't say it's a brand new to me spirit, but you know, going beyond just having whatever was available, we went to a place called Tortuga y Chango. Shout out to them. They're in Decatur, Georgia. And it is a mezcaleria and taco bar kind of place. So they've got a bunch of mezcals. And, you know, I got to be honest, I do not really know what in the world got me interested in mezcal recently. I'm not sure exactly what that experience was, but I just started getting kind of interested in exploring a little bit more. And from my days of my youth, I remember getting little bottles of mezcal that had the worms in them. You know, going out there and you had to, it was more drank as an adventure than something you enjoyed. I guess that was really the way it was with a lot of the spirits I drank in my early 20s, though. So
I think the worm was always the dare. You needed to drink down. And so I think the reputation was
the worm.
If you eat the worm, you'd hallucinate. It's the same thing that with what's the green fairy? Absinthe. Like it's the same thing that all young tourists are like, yeah, if you drink it, you'll hallucinate. You got to try it. You have to drink a ton of it. You got to eat the worm. Like, no, you'll just get drunk and you'll just feel bad.
Yeah. Now, as we explored mezcal, we had a few there at that bar, and then we did go over to a bottle shop and look. I didn't see any bottles with worms in them. I don't know if that's
I didn't
out of fashion or what. I don't know what. If you know the meaning behind the worm in the bottle, let us know, because I'm not sure exactly what the purpose or the meaning or anything of that is. But that said, Brian, we tried a few different mezcals, had some good one. Brian, you got an interesting one. You tried an interesting one and then I actually bought a bottle of it.
Yeah, because it was weird enough that I had to try it. It's I don't know if I'm going to say it right, but Zikaru Pachuga Mole mezcal. Yeah. And Pachuga means that they added chicken to the second distillation of it, is my understanding. And the mole, it means that they put some either mole sauce or some approximation into it. And it's not bad. I bought this for the same reason I buy a lot of wild craft beers out there with interesting ingredients. You know what? I don't regret a thing, Tim. I had a little tiny taste before the show.
Regret.
I didn't want to get too wild. Rag rats. Yes.
No rag rats.
I'm fine with it. I love that I have this thing. And I don't know how much longer they'll be making it. Apparently, from what I'm told by one expert on social media, who knows what their credentials are, the Pachuga part with the chickens is not as uncommon or as crazy as I think it is. The mole part is pretty wild. So I don't know. Take
I
that for
don't know
what
about
that's
that,
worth.
man.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Crazy. So again, we know very, very little about mezcal, and that I did a little bit of Google and did a little research as I sipped on my bottle. And apparently, mezcal is a very broad range of agave-based spirits. Like, it covers everything. And tequila is actually a specific type of mezcal. So made only from the blue agave. So I did not know until I did my Googling that tequila was a mezcal, apparently, just a very specific kind of mezcal. And it looks like that's a broad range. But I picked up, Brian, a bottle of the brand's Bozal, and the varietal is Cuishe. And that may be seen spelled on my bottle, it's Cuishe, but can also be Cuixe. And apparently, this is a wild agave. That's what makes this Cuishe special. It's a wild agave. It's part of the Karwinski family, Brian, if you're wondering what family that it came from. And apparently different shape, very unique. And because it's wild, it's not cultivated. So this is something, it can be rare just depending on whether or not they find it. Aromas, floral and vegetal notes, along with earthy, mineral, and spicy characteristics. The taste, and this according to the tasting notes that they shared, can be herbal, citrusy, and sometimes even woody flavors. And I would say with this one, Brian, I get that minerality, and you probably know from beer drinking with me that I like that characteristics in a beverage. And spicy, spicy, minerally, and kind of woody smoke in there. But I really like this one. And that's been my exploration with mezcal so far. Nate, as our resident cocktail connoisseur, do you have anything that you do with mezcal?
Yeah, so I do a lot of things with mezcal. Last week when I was chatting with a couple of people on Instagram on the stream about doing a Oaxacan old fashioned or an M&M, and those are really one's a little bit more complicated. The M&M's nice because it's just two ingredients, 50-50. But the cocktail that I've got tonight to showcase for mezcal is just four different ingredients, all equal parts. And so it's 3/4 ounce, and it's called the Naked and Famous, which was made famous by Joaquin Simo out of New York back in 2011. Very quickly turned into sort of a modern classic, really nice and approachable, good color. I'm sorry for those audio only listeners. It's got a nice reddish hint because the four ingredients are mezcal, and you want something a little bit more funky, a little more aggressive on the smoke. Yellow chartreuse, good luck finding it, but it does have yellow chartreuse, lime juice, and then Aperol. And so you get that reddish sort of orange hue to it because of the Aperol blending with the lime juice and the yellow chartreuse. But it's just a really nice cocktail that, if you are familiar with the last word or the paper plane, is very close to those two.
How does
And
it rank compared to the paper plane and the last word? Because I have thoughts about both of those, having made the other two.
So you get a hint of the complexity of the yellow chartreuse. The mezcal and the Aperol play really nicely together. And then you've got that nice bright citrus finish from the lime juice that just sort of leaves everything lingering in your chest. You shake it with ice, you serve it up, which just means that you're serving it into a chilled glass. No garnish is necessary, but I have seen people garnish with a dehydrated lime pinwheel. So I know, Brian, you've got a food dehydrator because you gifted me dehydrated citrus a couple years back.
Or
And
I bought it. I don't know.
or
Maybe
you
I just
bought it, I
bought it.
don't know.
You think Brian's at home dehydrating citrus?
Dehydrating citrus. I don't
Brian,
even
Man.
buy
you look at this
citrus.
man, he's fancy.
I basically have scurvy. I don't even know what citrus is.
Yeah.
So would you say you like it more than the other two, though? Or
I
is
like
it
the last word a little bit better. The last word
okay?
is equal parts gin, green chartreuse, maraschino liqueur, and lime juice. I like that, but gin was my first love language when it came to spirits. But mezcal is nice, and so this, if you want to get into mezcal, but you're a little daunted by how smoke forward it is, I would definitely recommend going out to your local bar and ordering yourself a Naked and Famous to try it.
Sounds
Go out and
great.
explore. And you know what? Let me rewind a little bit. I gave a shout out to Tortuga y Chango, and I'm sorry I didn't get their names, but the bartenders there were amazing, working with us newbies and telling us about mezcals and putting a little flight together with us. So just an overall good kind of first experience exploring mezcal. It was fun. It was a good time.
No beatings or humiliation, and we probably
Not
deserved it
this
because we
time.
had no
Not
idea.
this time.
You have to
Fortunately.
pay extra for that.
Next time. Definitely. Definitely. Well, guys, I tell you what, talking about Mezcal, let's jump into our beers and our beers of the week. Brian, what are you getting into this week?
So I pre-games with a Three Taverns Ritual Blonde, which is a vanilla coffee blonde ale. I figured I need something to perk me up a little bit. I was dragging a little bit, so I think it helped. I think that might be one of the few Three Taverns I've come across that with vanilla that didn't have lactose in it. I don't believe there was any in there, so didn't taste like it. I'm not feeling it, so I think I'm in the clear on that. Old Nation's single double is what's in my glass right now. It's a single hop hazy dippa, and that's quite tasty. And I, at some point, am going to get into a 6-point resin, which I found recently, and it was a fresh one, and I haven't seen that around in a while, and I'm pretty excited about that. That's a double IPA. And you already saw the mezcal I have. I don't know. I was thinking about doing Boilermakers for all these, but that could get really dangerous. So
That's
that
tough.
may just sit on the side, but who knows? It may come out a little later. We'll see. How about you, Tim? What do you
Me?
have?
So
Yeah.
all the mezcal talk, I had to start with some mezcal, and I did basically a mezcal margarita. Just use some margarita mix with mezcal instead of tequila. I did the tahine rim. I overdid it on the rim. I went too deep, Brian. I went too far. And got that a little spicy, a little extra salty and limey. So I had to back off of that a little bit. But that was my first one. And right now I have just poured a from a Boulevard. I've got a Dank 7 here, which is their Belgian style IPA, and a big fan of the Tank 7 Saison that they do. So I'm curious to see. I have not had this one yet. I know it's I've had this in my fridge for a minute. Hopefully not too long. I don't think it's been crazy long to where it's going to be aged out or anything, but curious to see how this is.
All right.
Mo Mike Nade, what you drinking?
Right now in my glass from Parrish, I've got their Second Nature Kolsch. This is a beer they released in collaboration with a local museum that was opening up, sort of benefiting them. And then on deck, I've got from Three Taverns, local brewery here in Decatur, Georgia, kind of near the Mezcalery that you two boys went to over the weekend.
Indeed.
I've got their Tiana Pills, which is a collaboration with Halfway Crooks, another brewery that we love to shout out on here a whole lot. And that's the two that I've got today.
Cool, man. Good stuff. Brian, when you went to Three Taverns, did you get any of the Pilsen Liberation? Did they have that one available?
I did, and I thought about having both that and the Ritual Blonde, but I wanted to mix it up. I'm like, I will have the Pilsen Liberation soon, perhaps on the next show. I actually had one already. I just haven't.
I
didn't have it today, so. Yes,
yeah,
that was what I went there for, and I just wound up with a bunch of other stuff that they had, or a couple of other things.
Yeah, Brian, I'm gonna run in and grab a 4-pack. Comes out with a whole flat,
of course he does.
Case of beer.
Yeah.
Are we surprised?
As you do, yeah. No, I know how he is. I've gone to the liquor store with him, and he's like, I just want a bottle of so and so, and he's like, hey, let me grab a cart. So he needs a shopping assistant at the liquor store. Well, guys, some interesting alcohol news. So Spain's got some party towns, party islands over there, Mallorca and Ibiza, known as big partying, but they're about to shut down the parties a lot earlier there, right, Brian?
Yeah. So I used to see, I don't know if you guys saw them too, but like all the if you listen to electronic, what is it, EDM, electric dance music or whatever the heck they call it now, the electronica is what it was when I was a kid. They always had these mixes from Ibiza, in Majorca, Ibiza mostly. And so I knew everybody was going there to party, and I never went because, it was expensive, and I wasn't part of that scene. But yeah, apparently it's gone feral in these islands with the partying. So effective immediately, like that's actually probably a few days ago even. They are banning the sale of booze after 9:30 at night in a lot of these places, all of these party zones. Majorca, Ibiza, there's a whole other a grouping of different party places that are involved. I didn't recognize the names, but I picked the ones I definitely did, and I knew other people would. If you buy booze after 9:30 p.m. In any of these banned places, it's going to cost you, I believe, per time you do it, €3,000 if you're caught. So
okay.
yeah, apparently they're cracking down on quote unquote uncivil attitudes, and part of the bill that was passed is also, is clamping down on vandalism and public nudity and a bunch of other stuff. So, I mean, the tourists have gotten really out of hand, and so that it's to the point where they actually just don't want tourists to come there anymore. And I'm like, it must have gotten really bad for it to get to that point, because tourists bring a lot of money in. So I would have thought that you'd want that even if you have to deal with a few bad apples, but apparently they're all bad apples now, Tim. So
when they said 9:30, I knew that was not just a deterrent to drinking too much, but to be in a party destination at all. I mean,
Yes.
you're not a Ibiza if you're stopping selling at 9:30, So that I'm sure that is absolutely, when you said they don't want tourists to come here anymore, I'm like, well, yeah, I was going to think that had to be the case there. But I think it's interesting, Brian, and I want to ask if this is the way you found the news or if this is your choice of wording. It says buying booze after 9:30 rather than selling. So is it, and that could be intentional. Is there a penalty for the seller if they're selling it there? Did it mention that?
Yeah, so the article I was reading made it clear, and the whole thing caught my eye because of Ibiza and all that. But they made it clear that if you buy it before 9:30, you can continue to drink it beforehand. So I'm like,
Okay.
I was thinking, like, I already see a
Oh,
loophole here. You buy it all
yeah.
ahead of time, but yeah, but he very clearly laid it out that I don't know if I think the person buying it, maybe both parties are fined. That wasn't clear. Somebody's getting fined €3,000 if they buy it after 9:30. But if
I
you
feel
get it
like
before then, yeah,
yeah.
you're in the clear.
I feel like that's an easy one to loophole around really
Mhm.
good. They'll get that figured out for sure. That's when I lived in Arkansas, they had this thing where I think it was you had to stop selling at midnight or like 11:55 or something like that. But private clubs could sell till like 3 a.m. or something along those lines. So all of these places would have like a club membership for $2. And then they would write your name on this card that they tore off of a sheet of 100, and boom, you're a club member. And so that allowed them to be open till 3 a.m. There may have been some other rules, but all I know is from the consumer side of things, it was pretty much as easy as walking in there and saying, I need a membership, giving them $3 and then going into the club. So when it comes to that kind of thing, they'll definitely figure out ways around it.
And I'm thinking it could be just like what we've seen around here with the Kolsch service. You prepay for the Kolsch service, so you pre-buy your drinks. I'm like, I'm going to have 10 drinks. I will ring them up at 8:45 throughout the night, and they'll get marked off on my card as I drink through the night. That's easy enough.
Or cover
Like,
charge, insane
Mhm.
cover charge. It includes all drinks, especially like you said, Ibiza is the privileged people go there to party. So, I mean, if they had something that's like you got $1,000 cover charge or whatever, then you could do that. Maybe they'll do it like our tours and tastings that we did here in Georgia, where it's like for $100 you get to drink Modelo's all night. For $1,000 they'll pop bottles of Grey Goose for you all night. For 10,000, they'll break out the whatever, the Cristal and all
The
of that
Dom
stuff.
Perignon.
The Dom and Cristal and all
Could
of that.
be.
So yeah, welcome back to 2015 Georgia.
Buy a new plastic cup every hour. I'm like, oh, your plastic cup is no longer good. If you'd like to continue drinking beverages, you need to buy this new blue plastic cup. So
yeah.
Tim, how much for the night do they need to spend to get unlimited Malort?
Unlimited Malort. I think they pay
Do they
you.
pay you?
They give you $50 they're like, look, if you're willing to only drink Malort for the rest of the night, we'll literally pay you.
They give you the cup, but on the way in, they punch you in the gut. And so
which is much the same as
yeah,
drinking Malort.
There's some college students are like, alcohol is alcohol. I'll take the $50 in the gut punch.
Yeah. To show you how old I am, we used to go, one of my favorite places to go in my younger days was this club we went to in Tennessee. I lived in Arkansas where there was nothing. So we drive to Tennessee. And on Thursday's night, it was ladies' night. So all the ladies got in for free. Guys paid like a $5 cover charge, but they had pitchers of Coors Extra Gold for $5 for a pitcher of beer. So, yeah, if you had a $5 cover and 2 pitchers of beer, you had a good party night going on there.
Quick question: what is Coors Extra Gold?
I don't know if it's around. It was a beer. It was a beer that they had. There was
Okay.
during that same time period. So there was Coors Extra Gold, Miller Genuine Draft, which I think stuck around for at least a while.
I know
I
that
don't
one.
but yeah, Coors Extra Gold was the low end Coors of the day, I guess. So that was the thing. They have $5 pitchers of that.
It's got gold, but more than
Extra.
Coors Gold.
Extra.
It's the
Some
extra gold.
Yeah, those were the days of Goldschlager. I guess that was
I was
those
gonna
were the
say,
gold
yeah.
days. Goldschlager, Rumpelmans, Coors Extra Gold, all gold everything, Nate.
It looks like it was discontinued maybe in 2021. I did some quick
Okay.
Googling while you guys were talking, and it's
All right.
I found a picture of the cans. It's not terribly inspiring. A Coors
Yeah.
Banquet is actually darker than it is, which may not be too surprising because there's probably almost no malt in it at all.
Extra gold, Brian. That's all you need to know. That is
That's
all
right.
you need to know. But yeah, interesting times, man. Lots of fun. Now, some silver lining or good news. Not a lot of good news came out of COVID. Not a lot of good things that came out of COVID. But one thing here in Georgia, I know for one, in a lot of other states, because of the extreme circumstances, they allowed drinks to go or even delivery drinks. And it sounds like more and more states are starting to make that permanent. Recently, Colorado just announced that they're making that permanent. Georgia is permanent, so it's a great thing there. And this makes 28 states that have made their temporary to go drink laws permanent because, man, that was not going to happen in Georgia before that. There's
no
just
chance.
there is just no way. So yeah, definitely change things up there. Let people get their to-go drinks. 28 states, so we're halfway there. And there are still some that have temporary to-go laws. That's California, Illinois, New Jersey, New York, and Vermont. And surprises me, a few of those, especially Vermont. I figured that they would pack it up for you and get it rocking. But California, not really surprising. New York, they like to, keep things under control there. But yeah, so get your to-go drinks in Colorado and 27 other states across the
I'm
country.
kind of surprised by the ones that are still temporary because they a little bit more progressive. So you think they'd be a little bit more like, hey, let's let people have their beer, but apparently not. It's very strange to me, but yeah, good for you, Colorado. Let's make it 50 states.
Alcohol laws are crazy everywhere, though. They're literally never going to make any sense there. But looking at it, talking about the alcohol laws, Austria has got alcohol in their politics, Brian, all up in it, right?
They do. We have talked about this before, but the Austrian beer party is running for parliament this year. And we when we talked about it before, we went over all the details. They were founded in 2015 as a joke, basically, on an anti-alcohol tax, anti-Radler platform. In fact, they propose a
Stuff.
banning of drinking of Radler in all public places and things like 50% tax on Radler. So they comically have singled out the Radler, the mixing of any kind of beer mixing with other things. They singled that out for punishment. But since then, they've taken on more serious causes, infrastructure and various other things. The party's candidate came in third in their 2019 presidential election with 8.3% of the vote. And the opinion polls currently show their support somewhere between 5 and 7% for parliament. And apparently, the party only needs about 4% to enter parliament. So it's a very good chance that the Austrian parliament will have the Austrian beer party representing them. So it's
Good for them,
involved
man.
in them.
Good
So
for them. Have they slacked up any on their anti-Radler stance, or is that still a strong piece of the platform there?
say I think they've gotten away from that. I think that was a kind of
Yeah.
a part of the joke to begin with, but I think that more infrastructure causes and other things like that, human rights and whatever else. So they've embraced a lot of that. And the thing is Austrians like to drink a lot, not quite as
Sure.
much as the Czechs, but nearly as much. So there's a lot of support for that. And they've realized they've got a lot of support. So they're like, oh, we're going to try to be somewhat serious with this, but they're also very, very, very pro beer. So as you might expect. So
We need us a beer party over here. And the point of their party would strictly be, let's just drink to deal with the other parties we have here. That's the entire platform of the American beer party.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Brian,
beer in every pot. A beer in every pot.
Right, a beer in
Yes.
every pot. It's the multi New Deal.
Yes.
So, Brian, interesting collaboration news this week. If you're a Harley rider, you're going to have a beer to go on rides with soon, right? And I say
Yeah.
that you will be able to have one and go on a ride.
Yeah, I don't. So I think it may depend on the particulars of your state and the technicalities of the beer, but Harley Davidson has a non-alcoholic beer collaboration called Road King American Pills that they're putting together with Wisconsin Beer Company, because apparently responsible motorcycle riding is a hot topic in motorcycling. So yeah, you'll be able to have a few good ones with cans that are all themed around Harley Davidson and that lifestyle, and still be safe for the road. I don't think I'd recommend opening it on the road. I think it might be hard to drink with the helmet and everything else, but I don't
probably
even know.
is not recommended. Even if it's
Yeah.
non-alcoholic, you probably shouldn't crack one open on the bike.
And technically, if it's called beer and there's like 0.5% of alcohol in it, you might still get an open container thing. I don't know how
Sure.
that works. I really don't know. But at the moment, it's currently available in Wisconsin in 4-packs of 16-ounce cans, and it may be coming to a Harley Davidson dealership near you in the future. They're planning on rolling this out much wider. They're also working on some Harley Davidson themed non-alcoholic IPAs and wheat beers in the future. So they're looking to make a whole Harley Davidson line of non-alcoholic drinks. So it's really interesting. Honestly, I would have thought Harley Davidson, these guys are going right to liquor or something like that. No, these guys are teetotaling. So that's unexpected for me. But I'm not a motorcycler. I
You're
don't
gonna
know.
have some hardcore, and which is weird, Brian, because you look like you should drive a Harley.
I know.
Yeah.
And I don't dislike them. I know I'd probably kill myself on one of them, but it would be fun. I see them riding around. I'm like, that looks like that's fun.
Yeah.
But
Have a
I've
good time with it. Have a
Yeah,
good time.
I don't know if I'd survive it, honestly, but
That was it. I looked to get a one of the sport bikes when I was younger, and I just didn't because I was an idiot, to be quite honest with you, and I knew that I'd end up injuring myself on it, and I didn't figure just with nothing but a helmet and maybe some leather separating me from the road. I just figured it was not in my best interest to do that, so I didn't.
yeah.
But Brian, I think it makes total sense. You may have some of their hardcore clubs out there, some of the hardcore rider clubs, that they see a Harley beer and they just grab it and they're partying down and they're like 6 beers in each. And they're like, man, I just need to go to the bathroom. I'm not feeling any. And then they discover it's non-alcoholic.
It's just all
They're all
angry. It's like,
mad.
what
They're
have you
just,
given me?
What is this, man? What is this?
The interesting thing is they've already had a lot of interest in the like the cans. Like, people want to keep the empties, and they're like, yeah, we don't
Sure.
want this to be a
Yeah.
novelty. We want people to actually want to drink it. So I've not had it, and they claim to be like really focusing on trying to make this something you want to drink and not just something you want to buy to have the can because you're a collector of Harley memorabilia. So
Yeah. Do either
that's
you guys know
the
of
idea.
that brewery or know anything about their beer?
I don't. I
don't
didn't
either.
even think to look into what else they do. But Harley Davidson thinks very highly of them, spoke very highly of them. So
Good.
I assume they make great beer. That's what I think.
Rock
So,
on, man.
yeah.
I'll have to see if I can get my hands on some of that. I'd definitely be interested to give it a try.
I would too. I would definitely drink it. So
Yeah.
There's always
Good stuff.
always a good time for a non-alcoholic beer. There's so many good times for it. So yeah.
Right. Well, Brian, talking about the beer industry in general, we've seen some mixed news, and it was kind of a joke after CBC this year. A lot of people were kind of mocking the fact that the basic sentiment there was, well, it could be worse,
Yes.
And I mean, sometimes you gotta look at that as the upside, well, it could be worse. Definitely not where anybody wants to see it in the industry and that, but every now and then some good news comes out, and it sounds like Cinco de Mayo gave a little uplift to things, like a GME stock, right?
Like a GME stock. Well, I don't know about that. That's a pretty nothing gets that kind of a boost.
Volatile.
Yeah, not quite that volatile, but yeah, according to Circana's weekly, I think off-premise scans that they do, beer and spirit sales were up more than expected over the Cinco de Mayo weekend, about 4% up over week per week, compared to previous weeks, basically, but only slightly up compared to last year, but still up 0.2%. So The big winner for the weekend was Constellation's Modelo, which I somehow keep misspelling, but Modelo, and it was up 10.4%, and I believe this is a year-over-year percentage. It's up. And AB InBev's Bud Light might surprise you. Came in at number 2. They're still holding tough at number 2, even though they saw a decline of about 5.8% since last year. So, those were your big winners for the week. But I think in general across the board, I think spirits and beer also saw a pretty big boon, yeah, one of those things
Boon.
from that weekend. Yeah,
Saying that it's up 0.2% definitely falls in line with what I was saying of could have been worse.
could have been
Yep.
worse.
Could have been worse. 0.2%. I guess that's growth.
So what's the guy from Sam Adams? He was talking. He was talking with people that were interviewing about how they're performing. And he says he still thinks that the long-term performance of all things that are now considered quasi beer is still kind of an average growth of 4 to 5%. He still sees that as an ongoing growth thing. So again, it could be worse. He's optimistic, and I think that it's possible for the right breweries in the right places making the right decisions to still see ongoing growth. But yeah, it's rough. It's not a guarantee anymore, for sure.
Yeah, people aren't going to totally quit drinking beer.
No,
It's,
absolutely
there's
not.
going to be some shifts. There are going to be some transitions. And Tyler here just chimed in. He's like, beer is super expensive right now. Everything is crazy expensive. And that's definitely something, if you're watching your budget, beer is going to get hit. You got to eat. So even if my eggs cost, what are eggs, like $72 a dozen now or something?
I think so.
Probably.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It's crazy. It's good. Seriously, I think they're 3, 4, 5. I kid you not, I saw a 12-pack at one of the farmers market places, not like the farmers market, but the grocery stores that try to front like they're farmers markets. There's a dozen organic free range brown eggs or something. They were $12
Well, they 12
for a dozen eggs. I'm like, $1 an egg. And I can remember, I think store brand I shop at Kroger or Publix. I think store brand, I can still find them $1.70, like $2 ish in some places there. So that was good.
I want to say the most I've seen that I paid attention to was $7 or $8 for a dozen,
that
which
not
seemed
crazy?
excessive,
Yeah.
but they were very fancy pants, and they're like, no, the eggs are supposed to be different sizes and different colors. That's
This one's
that's what you
blue,
want.
that
That's
one's
exciting.
brown,
I'm like,
this is it.
okay, if you say so.
Gosh,
That's like,
man.
no, they're better that way. I'm like, I don't know, but
I think you shared a little infographic with me recently, Brian, talking about fast food prices. And I think like McDonald's, they were looking and targeting things, and it was seriously averaged out to almost a 50% increase over 10 years. Like, or was it 100%? Like double?
I think it was 100%,
right?
and they were
Yeah.
at the high end. And people think of McDonald's as being the less expensive ones, but yeah, they were really really high up. I don't remember all of the infographic, but they were all up considerably, and that was compared to, I think, with more traditional restaurants. Like fast food is
What's
really
going
screwing
on
you
out
over.
there,
If you're
man?
going fast food, you're really getting hit. If you're going traditional restaurant, you're not getting hit as bad, but you still are getting
You're
hit.
still
The
getting
inflation's
hit.
still happening there, but fast food ain't it if you're looking to save some money. It ain't it. So
They're coming for our
anymore.
beer. They're coming for our burgers. We can't stay. Where's our beer party? We need them to stand up.
that's right.
We'll
Stand up
need
for
them
us.
to get the chicken wing index under control. Is what they need to do.
I haven't even checked the chicken wing
I
index in a
haven't
long
checked it
time.
recently.
Are they under $2 a wing now?
I saw recently a place where a dozen was like a dozen wings was $15. So under the $2 mark, but you're
Okay.
still over $1 for a wing, for a single chicken wing.
We're not back to a quarter a wing or whatever the heck it used to be.
Madness, man. Madness.
I'd even accept
madness,
50 cents
madness.
a wing. That would be fantastic, man.
Right. Yeah, that would be a great deal. Not anytime soon, Brian. Not anytime soon. You may not find you a chicken wing for a quarter, or you may not find you a pitcher of beer for $5 these days. But if you want to find some good food and good beer, we recommend you give a visit to our friends at Terrapin Brewery Atlanta. They're always going to have some good stuff on tap there, always brewing new things. Again, it's baseball season. Go out and see the Braves, catch a game, have a good beer. Terrapin, of course, is partnered with Fox Brothers, so their tap room has a Fox Brothers barbecue restaurant there, and they've got delicious ribs and the burger there, the brisket, ribs, pork, all of the good stuff there. Brian's a big fan of the green beans because the green beans are actually about 50% pork there. So
it's a ham hock with a little bit of
Yeah.
greens around it. Yeah.
So you can front like you're doing that. But there's going to be some great beers on. They're going to have pretty much any style you like there. They're going to have something easy drinking on there, some blondels or lagers, nice Pilsner beer. They do a lot of stouts and Belgian ales too, man. They get all across different styles. And the Terrapin Brewery Atlanta is kind of the experimental, the brew lab for Terrapin Brewery. So all the new stuff before it makes it up to the bigs, before it goes to the show, it makes an appearance there at the Terrapin Atlanta tap room. So go check them out, grab you a couple of beers, catch a baseball game, get some barbecue, make sure to tell them the Beer Guys sent you. And thanks again to Terrapin Brewery Atlanta for sponsoring Beer Guys Radio.
Well, I hope you're having a great American Craft Beer Week. What's that you say? You didn't know it was the American Craft Beer Week? Well, you've got some catching up to do because it's nearly over by the time you're hearing this. Fortunately, Truck and Tap is always here to help you catch up on the latest craft beer, both from local breweries and from those further afield. And right now would be a great time to play my favorite game, Truck and Tap Roulette. Let a random number generator, pick the brew that you're going to have next and maybe even the location you're going to go to. But if you're feeling a little more cautious, here are my picks for the week. Starting at the OG Truck and Tap in Woodstock, my pick is Monday night's The Flores Guava. It's a tart saison with elderflower and guava juice. Who says craft beer isn't still interesting? Tart saison, elderflower, and guava juice. My mind's blown away by that. I need to try it. At the Duluth location, I can't resist the call of Untitled Arts Quadruple Hazy IPA with Citra, Mosaic, Azaka, and Centennial. That sounds wonderful. At the Alpharetta location, my love affair with Anderson Valley continues with Boont Amber, a beer that's been collecting medals since 1987, possibly longer than you've been alive, depending on how old you are listening. And finally, at the Truck and Tap in Lawrenceville, let's go with Creature Comforts Dreaming in Slow Motion, which is a blend of barrel-aged imperial stouts with vanilla. Of course, there are plenty of other beers to choose from. They do have 20 taps, not to mention a variety of bottles and cans, so you can pick whatever you'd like. But drop by your local Truck and Tap and celebrate American Craft Beer Week. And once again, thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Yeah, it's good times, man. Good times.
Yep.
American Craft Beer Week. I love that we have so many times to celebrate beer. And again, like we mentioned, we're out this weekend at the Georgia Craft Brewers Festival. When you hear this or when the show releases, we'll actually be out setting up for our beer fest to have a good time there. And it's good to get together. I love beer from everywhere. It's all delicious. We do love supporting local. It's always nice to support the home team, root them on there. There's some great beer out of Georgia. We've grown quite a lot there. And we're looking in some of the news that you had this week, Brian. We're talking about the states with the most breweries per capita. And a lot of times it feels like we've got a lot of breweries now,
It does, yeah.
And comparatively to 5-6 years ago, I guess we do. I mean, we've had, pretty tremendous growth here in the state. I guess triple, quadruple, somewhere in those numbers. I don't even have the counts yet. So, you know what? A little FYI for everybody that's in Georgia and uses our map and list to see what's going on. We're out of date there. That's my fault. I haven't been doing it, but Nate is currently in the process of updating. Nate, do you have a count yet? Have you got to the point where you have the count of brewery we have here?
I'm roughly at 124, but I'm scouring Instagram to try and figure out what breweries have announced they're going to open. But
all right,
so far I've got Georgia with 124 active breweries.
All right, I think my list had like cideries, meaderies, and all that on there, but I remember with that we were like at 157 or something like that.
I was only looking at breweries. So
Brian, you know what? Brian may have the number for us. He was doing some research. Brian, do you know how many we have here now?
I don't know personally, but thanks to the work that VinePair has done on collecting the information about the most craft breweries per state and per capita per state, They say that Georgia has 181, and I don't know if they're including cideries in that, or if what all happens to draw that into that count. But 181, I feel like that's probably about right. And I think there's a lot of stuff out there that has sprung up. Everything's so much more local that we're not hearing about it because it's a big state, and like we can't make it to every nook and cranny of the state to find all these places.
I heard of a new brewery just yesterday, and it's one town north of me. And there
really?
3-4 years ago, there's no way that someone could have whispered to their neighbor about starting a brewery in Georgia, and we wouldn't have known about it. But they're opening doors now, Brian, and I don't even know sometimes. It's madness.
I was told about one I hadn't heard about, and they'd been open for almost a year. I'm like, really? How were they open for a year and I haven't heard about them? But I guess it's the nature of everything going on.
That's the way it goes.
I think that we don't have quite the hype. You might realize that in craft beer that we once did. So you don't have people hearing about a new brewery and screaming it from every rooftop. So that's that network of screaming. We don't have that anymore. So that's why we're not as informed as we once were. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something, and we I guess our timing was pretty good, Brian, for brewing and visiting every brewery in the state. We did it in 2018, so we can make that claim that we visited every brewery in the state, because I don't think that'd be 3 a week or more now if we tried to do that. And I'm not sure even with our best effort,
it'd be tough.
That done.
And this number kind of looks like about 100 more than what we visited in 2018.
Right.
So
exactly.
I think it's almost exactly 100. So
madness.
So there you go, Nate. That's the number you're shooting for. You got to figure out how to make that happen. So
yeah,
on that.
But along those lines, Brian, talking about all these breweries, there are certain states that I just really wouldn't have guessed where there's certain ones that are no surprise here. The least number of breweries. I think a lot of people would probably guess these if they're asked to guess. Nate, did you look yet? Have you looked at the list?
I looked.
Okay, then I'll just throw it out there. For the least number of breweries per capita is Mississippi with 0.9, Alabama with 1.5, and Alabama does have a decent little beer scene, but it's pretty centralized. You've got your Birmingham pocket, your Huntsville pocket, a couple more here and there, but not a shocker there. Louisiana with 1.6 and Utah at 2.1. Mississippi, step up your game. We're going to call you on the carpet right now. You do have people there that want good beer. I've got family over there and they talk all the time about wanting new stuff there. Mississippi, go out and support your stuff when it opens up, because I know some really cool stuff that's opened up there and closed just because they don't have support. I know you're Old South, I know that, but get it together. Shout out to Lucky Town, RIP, for the brewery that was over there in Jackson. And Utah, Utah has twice the number of breweries per capita that you do, Mississippi.
Right.
You gotta improve that.
You really got to step it up. And I think Mississippi has an issue with infrastructure, and that could be a little bit part of what the problem is.
Yeah.
Wasn't that what took Lucky Town down eventually?
That was part of it. They did mention that, just
kind
of like Flint, Michigan, the water system there is in terrible shape, and they've had some additional issues, after that. How many breweries are in Flint, Michigan? I'm curious if there's any comparison there.
I don't know. I'm gonna guess not very many, but I don't know that for a fact. It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, they can clean their water and do all kinds of things to treat it and whatnot. That's a doable thing. But I know that's some challenging water to deal with.
It is. It's tough.
Yeah.
Tough to RO it if it's 50% sludge.
So I got to point out that the list I'm looking at is per capita. So this is the number of breweries per every 100,000 individuals. The states with the most craft breweries in general, it's a little bit more predictable. Like, your California is going to be up there. And interestingly, like Texas is like fifth least per capita, but it's also in the like one of the highest, breweries per state. So just raw numbers. So it has a lot to do with the balance of population and breweries to service that population, and Texas is on the low side in terms of servicing their population.
When you see Montana and Wyoming and that up there on the top end of the list, part of that is skewed by population there.
Right. Absolutely, yes.
These sparsely populated states, and if you look at a per capita rating, California, is that my glasses are a little hazy, but I think is that a 2.4 or a 3.4? 3.4 per capita in California, which you may be shocked looking at the chart and seeing all these states more, but California's got a lot of people. There's a lot of beer in California.
Just a ton of
So,
people, and they've got almost 1,000 breweries there. They're
yeah.
they're
Mhm.
3.4 with 987. I've got the other infographic up on the side here. So yeah, they've got a ton of breweries, and theoretically, all these places you think are up and coming that yeah that don't have that many breweries. Like some of them do like have a lot of room to grow, and some of them don't. Arguably, California still has a lot of room for breweries to grow. Just by sheer volume of people that are there that could potentially drink beer. So,
Well, not just that, but a lot of times it's pocketed, Brian. If you go to
yeah,
San Diego, I went to San Diego for work a couple years back and have a friend that lived in the Ocean Beach area. We walked around Ocean Beach and kind of I think Tyler was saying here, he's got 6 breweries within walking distance of him. We walked around the Ocean Beach neighborhood, and I think I visited half a dozen breweries in an afternoon there. It's they're clustered together. And San Diego is absolutely loaded. There's breweries there that you go to anywhere, but you get out to some other places, there's just not as much. So there could be certain areas that could definitely grow. If you're living in San Diego, you'd be like, we're saturated. We're just absolutely locked up here. So it's
I'd say the toughest competition if you were trying to open up a new brewery is Colorado, because they make both of the top 5 lists of per capita and just per state. So Colorado has 468 breweries in the state, and they have a 10.6 breweries per 100,000 individuals. So they're actually well served by beer. Like if you want a good volume of beer, and I think we all know this. We know Colorado's reputation. I can't even get that out. This, so you just go there. That's the place to go if you would like to have just the world to be your oyster in terms of beer. So I'm jealous.
oyster stout. The world can be your oyster stout in Colorado.
As long as they're not Rocky Mountain oysters.
I think that's out there too. Now that you mention it, Nate, I think
they are on the
Rockies,
Rockies, so it's probably that too. Yeah.
That was something we mentioned a lot in Georgia a few years back. Looking at the map, we were very centralized around the populated, the bigger populated areas. We had a cluster in the Atlanta metro. There was a cluster near Athens, where UGA is. And then we had coastal kind of Savannah and that. But outside of that, very, very little. But we've seen a lot more pop up in the smaller, the rural areas over the last 5 years. So, we did get to a point to where filling in those gaps, and you won't go. I don't think there's anywhere now where you could go 150 miles and you're not going to have a brewery or two there.
I would like to see a measurement of the different states with the longest distance between breweries. Like if you took a radius, which states still have the biggest radius from one brewery to the next? It's going to be a place like Montana, because Montana's huge, but it would be instructive, because you might find that California is a little bit like that. Like there's huge areas where there's distance between, there's no brewery in this whole area, because, well, they do have like deserts and things like that there too,
So I'm going to ask you, Nate, because I know the answer for Brian, and his answer is actually going to change here pretty soon. But what's the closest brewery to you? How far is the closest brewery?
I would say probably about 6 or 7 miles.
Okay, that's a decent little distance there. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So where I am, I think I'm 3 miles. So technically I could walk it. I don't want to, but I could. But I think do we have 2 or 3 downtown now? I can't even remember. 2?
Let's see.
2 breweries, but then several beer bars as well. So I've got a couple within 3 miles, Nate. Brian, you've got one at the end of the block, but it's shutting down on you.
It shut down already. It's already closed.
Shut
so
down?
yeah,
okay.
I have to drive out to Chambly. So I'm a mile or two. Like it's kind of debatable. One of them's Sweetwater, which is one of the biggest breweries in the region. It's not very far away, but closer to me is Contrast Artisan Ales, and that's occasionally I make a trip over there just because they're nearby, and I'm the end of the day or whatever. It's convenient. I got to tell you, having Iron Hill within like a 1/10 of a mile for me was super convenient, and unfortunately that location is no longer in operation, but there's one in Sandy Springs, which is, for people that don't know that, it's I don't know, 5-3. I don't know.
That's a ways.
It's considerably further away.
But it's
than the
not
other
at
one.
the end of
It's
the
not.
street, Brian. It's not at
It
the
is
end of the
not.
street.
It is not. It is definitely not walkable. The other one was, but yeah.
I do need to amend my response. It's actually 5 miles. Our old studio space in Ironmonger Brewing. Ironmonger is 5 miles from my house.
That's the closest one to you now.
That's
Is
the
Iron?
closest
Is
one.
it? Okay. Okay.
I was thinking of
So
Reformation
then
Smyrna.
you're not too far from Schoolhouse then, so you
Mhm.
wouldn't be too bad
Yeah.
there. That would not be too bad.
And plenty of pinball.
Yeah,
The important
plenty of
part.
pinball there.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Well, guys, I think that about covers it for this week for all the hot topics we got. Brian, you got anything else you want to say? Anything you want to share?
No,
Wanna
no.
give
Well,
your
you know what?
manifesto?
We could get into that gel. Did you miss that one?
The
gel
gel. We
gel.
could get into that gel.
All right, let me
You know
tell you
what?
about.
I can't turn that down, can I?
Yeah. You want some gel? Yes, of course I want some gel. Everybody wants some gel. So I got to tell you about this. This is the most interesting story I've seen all week. Researchers in Zurich have invented a protein gel that breaks down alcohol in the gastrointestinal tract instead of in the liver. So not only that, it quickly converts alcohol into a harmless acetic acid instead of the harmful acetaldehyde that is typically produced by the liver. The conversion takes place before it enters the bloodstream, which means it can prevent intoxication in addition to all the damage. In tests on mice, they demonstrated significant reductions in mice treated with the gel versus mice that were not treated and drank at the same time. Longer term results on the mice showed that the gel showed mice with the gel applied to them had less liver damage than mice without. Unfortunately, the gel is only effective when it is in contact with alcohol. Once the alcohol is crossed into the bloodstream, it will have no impact. So you can't use this gel to sober up, and you can't use it if you've got too much. You've got alcohol poisoning. Basically, it's not going to help you with that. So it's only as a preventative type of prophylactic thing. And it's made with some pretty wild ingredients: whey protein, salt, and tiny particles of iron and gold come together to make this gel work. It is a very complicated, and it kind of blew my mind, all of the different interactions that make this happen. So they're looking to patent it. It may actually become a product. It's very interesting. I don't know how it's going to be used, but man, it's interesting stuff.
So I've got to ask a question because I think I missed something here. It's a gel.
It's a gel.
Do you consume it?
It wasn't clear as to the proper application.
Because the reason you said is when it's untreated or when it's been applied to the mice. So I'm like, wait a minute. What's the application here?
The article did say it was you could consume it. So I guess it could be, but I have a sense that in the case of the mice, it may have been applied from a different direction, Tim. So it may not be. I don't know if that works.
About this anymore.
I don't know how the physiology works.
Further. And I don't know what direction you're having it applied from, or if it's something you rub it on the skin.
North by northwest.
Yeah. Rub it on your forehead.
That's right.
Beer,
apply directly.
Alcohol be gone. Apply directly to the forehead. Well, it'd be interesting. I mean, to see how it works out. And you mentioned that they turn into acetic acid. That kind of interested me because I was thinking, does it just break it down to the acetaldehyde? Because then you're still getting toxic there.
That's the important part. Is it the thing that really damages your body, which is that acetaldehyde? It skips that completely. So I think the idea is if this becomes a product, if it makes it the whole way, it will probably be something that's available in some kind of a pill form or something that will just open up once it gets into your system, because people are not going to want to take a suppository before they start drinking. I get this feeling like that's not going to be a positive.
I don't even know where you.
I don't know. I don't know how it works. I don't know science, Tim.
You said it's a gel, Brian. You could apply it to the skin. I don't know why you went to your north by southwest entry there, but okay.
Well, it has to be in contact with the alcohol to be effective, Tim. That's why.
Well, that was what I was wondering when they said applied. But man, that's a long going from the south end to the north to get it in contact with alcohol. That's a long trip. You know that, right?
It's got to be. Yeah.
It really seems like not the right way to do this.
Well, I mean, it depends on how it's propelled. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know biology, Tim. I just drink beer
Obviously.
and talk.
Obviously. Brian,
Brian,
if you ever have to take a suppository and you gag yourself, you've done it wrong.
okay. I'll keep that in mind. All right.
Just keep that in mind. That's
The
y'all. I
suppository gave me
definitely
acid
think,
reflux.
yeah, you did it wrong. But no alcohol poisoning.
No, I'm completely in the clear. All
I
right.
definitely think that is a good cue for us to sign off here. Y'all, we really appreciate you coming to hang out with us. If you like what we do here, please share the show with a friend. Tell them to give it a listen. Share it in your social media if you really dig us, or even one of us. Or if you hate us enough that you want to pay us to stay here to feed your hate, we're okay with that too. Just go to patreon.com/beer guys. We're going to give you some cool perks and give you the show early. We're going to invite you over to our Discord where we chat about all kinds of things, and it'll get you the link each week to join us for the after party to have a beer and hang out and chat here in the video chat. So again, we really appreciate it. We hope that you have a great week. We hope you've enjoyed American Craft Beer Week. And you know what? Don't forget to drink local. Cheers.
I will say in the comments of that article, there were a lot of people talking about how it was applied, and a lot of jokes were made. So,
Man, I was like,
that's the
what are
first thing
they
they go to.
doing with this thing, man? What are they doing with this thing?
Yeah.
Crazy.
He gave you an out, Brian, and you still just went.
No, of
He
course.
kept. He's
No.
He just
gonna
went. Yeah.
bury himself there. Bury
It's like
himself.
he gave me a ladder. I'm like, no, I'm not done digging this hole.
No, he throws the ladder at me. Let me talk more about rat butts.
It's one of my favorite topics.
Yeah, the tiniest little Q-tip ever.
Oh,
wow.
Good
Wow.
stuff.
Well, that
Fantastic.
degraded. Y'all, we are going to sign off again, as we did say there. If you're in our Patreon support, we're going to throw a link in the Discord chat for you to come hang out with us. We would love you to do just that. So have a good week, y'all. We're going to be here next week. We won't be here next
no,
week. will
because
we?
we're recording a thing
show
at
on
the
Saturday,
thing.
Yeah, we're doing a
so-
show at the Beer Fest, so we won't be live next Wednesday. So we'll see you here at this time in 2 weeks. Cheers.